I bow to all seekers of truth. These are the special times when so many seekers are born all over the world. We are not aware as to the nature of this time when we get so much worried, anxious and upset with so many things happening around us and we do not find any answer to it. Sometimes, if you read some of the books which give all the data about what is expected of human beings, many people have now, I think, accepted the ultimate doom, and they think that after all the doom has to come, so why worry? Even Muhammad Sahib has talked about the doomsday. But much more than that, he has talked about the days of resurrection. They all have talked about the future, the day of judgment, the day of resurrection. When is this going to happen and how it is going to happen? We have to first of all know that why are we seekers and what are we seeking? When I said that you are the seekers of truth, we have to find out, first of all, what is the truth. And for that, finding out, we have to just use some logic. We have to come to some logical conclusion to begin with. Now, the first thing one must know that we have become human beings from amoeba stage. We have come to this stage with a purpose. It is not purposeless. But why have we become a human being? There must be some purpose, and if this purpose has to be served, it will be served not by some sort of an outward happening, but something inward has to happen to our awareness. Like animals do not have any awareness of cleanliness, of beauty, but human beings have. In the same way, when we become a higher personality, we have to have something happening again I say, to our awareness. And for this I would say, Jung has done a lot of work. Jung, who opposed Freud very much. And he said that if man has to evolve little higher than what he is, he will achieve his own goal. And according to him also, the goal of man is to become collectively conscious. So even the scientists, the psychologists have prepared the stage for our ascent. Even Darwin, who did not believe in God, but he did say that if man has come so far, he has to go still further somewhere at his destination. Even he would not accept a situation or a proposition in which one has to say that there is no purpose of nature in creating human beings. The second conclusion we have to come to very logically, understandingly, is that the process of evolution has been done by the living force of life. It's not done by something which is dead. Like supposing we read the book, it's all dead work. Or if we stand on our heads or do any such things, we don't create any living thing. Living thing can be understood from, living process can be understood from a living thing. Like if you have got a seed and it looks like a dead thing, but you put it in the Mother Earth, then it starts sprouting by itself, spontaneously. How it happens, why it happens, you can't explain, but it does. You see for yourself that it happens. And that kind of a living force has worked out your evolution without your knowledge. But now, in your knowledge, it has to happen. That's the only difference between the evolutionary process so far and further. And because it has to be in your knowledge, you are given complete freedom to choose either the ascent or the descent. And when you come to this right conclusion that it has to be done through some living process, then you must understand another point, that you cannot pay for it, not a single pie. You cannot pay for it. This is something very difficult for human beings to understand, that you can get something without paying, but you are getting so many things. You get the sun's rays without paying for it. Everything, this pay business and all this economic activity has been started by human beings alone. It's not done by God. Perhaps God never understands money at all, but it's all done by human beings. And also they want to bring in God into the same pattern and say that you can sell God. You cannot organize God and you cannot sell God. So another conclusion we have to reach, that we cannot purchase God or His divine power. This has to be brought to us spontaneously. Means that we cannot sort of work it out ourselves. It's some sort of a grace, or we can say a force that has to work it, and when that grace works it out, we can become a higher personality, as we have become higher personality so far. Now this grace about which people have talked, that there is an all-pervading power everywhere, and this all-pervading power is doing every living work. Like, again I said, where the living process, where we see a flower becoming a fruit. Thousands and thousands flowers we see are becoming fruits. How do they become? They become spontaneously. But how? A flower just becomes a fruit, we take it for granted. Now the thing is, this all-pervading power is everywhere. And that pervading power does this living job everywhere. Not only that it makes a flower into a fruit, but also it decides which flower has to become what fruit. It decides, it coordinates, it organizes, and it loves. So this power we have to feel. We never feel it. We see only nothing but the breeze blowing, but we don't see any power being existing in this atmosphere. The reason is this power is subtler for our feelings. We cannot feel it. It's the frequency of this power, we cannot feel it. So how are we to feel this power? Is the first question should come logically into our head. There must be something more must happen to us. We have to become subtler personality to feel that power. Now this becoming is the knowledge of the roots, is not the knowledge of the tree. Whatever we have achieved through our mental projections or all discoveries and everything we have done about nature is, we have put them in the books, and all that is nothing but the knowledge of the tree. But this tree is sustained by the roots. And these roots are sustaining this great tree which is growing. But if this tree doesn't look after its roots, a day will come that it is going to be destroyed. And that's why people are frightened that this creation is going to be destroyed now. It's just on the verge of destruction. Even the human beings who are the epitome of great evolution have done nothing. In totality, if you see, the science has advanced more towards destruction than towards construction. It has constructed few things, all right, but in a whole way, supposing you construct the whole house very beautifully, make everything beautifully and decorate it nicely, and then you put a big bomb underneath it. That's what we have done out of science. We have created all these nice things, and then we have got this hydrogen bomb, this bomb, that bomb planted on all the sides, that if a button is pressed, the whole thing can collapse, whatever we have created with such difficulty. So look at the stupidity of our endeavor, our enterprise, the way we have worked it out, that in totality we are just facing our own destruction through our own mental projection. So the other thing that has to happen to us in our realization is that we find out a method by which we understand the constructive side of life. Anything done without the spirit in it, without God's grace in it, leads you to destruction. Even the elements can get upset with such a society and can start destroying such societies. But if the elements do not take over, it is only the same societies which are trying to elevate a society to higher level themselves turn back upon themselves and start destroying them. Because there are no moorings for us, there are no roots. Because this kite which is flying has lost its attachments. The attachment has to be to the spirit. Shri Krishna has said that yoga kshema vahamyaham, that you get your yoga, means union with the divine. Once you get union with the divine, then I look after your kshema, means I look after your well-being, is said by Shri Krishna. But he doesn't say that first I will look after your kshema and then you get your yoga. It's the other way now. You have to take to your yoga. Now the right conclusion about yoga, we should find out what is yoga. Now many people think that doing hatha yoga, which is just a little bit of standing on your head business, is yoga. It is not. It's very commonly said, I am doing my yoga. I mean, you can't do yoga. You have to be in yoga. Yoga means union with the divine. And this happens to you. It just happens to you, by which you become connected with your spirit. What Christ has said is the rebirth. We are to be born again. But human beings are so much deceptive to themselves. They deceive themselves so much that I have known people that when I went to America, I told them that you are to be born again and all that. After that, some of them started an organization calling Born Again. And they just self-certify themselves that we are born again. But I mean, how can you certify yourself as born again when you haven't got the qualities, the capacities and the powers of a twice born personality? Now, we have to understand also that if it is going to be a new birth, a transformation must take place within us. We must have a transformation. But you'll find that all efforts people have put in, of conditioning, giving puritanical ideas and doing all sorts of things, it has not been able to give people to transform themselves. It has not led to any transformation. On the contrary, there are addictions to all kinds of habits, addiction to all kinds of thoughts, and also enslavement to all sorts of conditioning has not at all vanished. In some way or other, if they are communists, they become capitalists. If they are capitalists, they become communists. You see, from one to another, you are going into some sort of an ism. But in Sahaja Yoga, there is nothing like ism, because you are only human beings. Only human beings in the eyes of God. He has created variety. He has created one variety of, say, Australians. Then in Australia also he has created so many varieties. As you have so many flowers, we have so many human beings. But inside every flower flows this vital force of God's love. And that vital force is to be understood through going into the roots, not from outside, through your mental projection. Actually, through your mental projection, how far can you go? Because it's a limited brain that you are using to understand a problem. But you have to go to the unlimited. If it is so, something has to trigger it. Your ascent into that space where it is unlimited. And that's why we have to know that through only logical conclusion, we can come up to the door. But afterwards, you have to enter through this door, through that triggering. Otherwise, you cannot enter into it. Now, whatever he has told you all about these chakras, you need not believe, as Dr. Warren has told you. There's no need to believe into it, because even if you have blind faith, it's going to help us. But as a scientist, you must keep your mind open and you must accept this as a hypothesis placed before you. Now, this hypothesis, if it is proved right, you have to accept it as a law, the divine law. Now, this hypothesis is that you have got all these 7 centers within you. And you have got the power called as the Kundalini placed in the triangular bone. Now, one may say that this is a Sanskrit word. And Sanskrit is not for only Indians. It is for all of us. It's as English language is for all of us, in the same way Sanskrit is also for all of us. But only thing I would say that as the West was more busy, and you though you are on the East, but still I'll call you the West, busy with the advancement outside. There were people who were busy with the advancement down. And these people are the seers who have seen that there is a power which is settled down in the triangular bone called as sacrum. Now this is a Greek word. It is very interesting to know that sacrum means sacred. And I asked the Greeks, when I went to Greece, I asked them, why do you call it sacrum? They said that most of these words have come to us because we have had a very long rapport with the Indo-Aryan groups. So, when was that? They said it was much before Alexander went to India. So we knew about India a long time back, and the Indians told us that this is a sacred bone. Even doctors know that when the whole body burns, this bone does not burn. It takes lot of temperature, very high temperature, to burn this bone. And when you put it in the cremation, this thing and all that, that has to be brought to a very high temperature so that this bone should burn. But with other temperatures, low temperatures, the whole body may burn, but this bone will remain still unburnt. So the reason is, there is this power which is protecting it. Now this power is called as Kundalini because it has got 3.5 coil within it. You might have read, some of you being seekers, you must have read books about Kundalini. And everywhere I go, people tell me that, Mother, we have heard that this is a very dangerous thing to have the Kundalini awakened and it's very wrong to touch it. No, this is something absurd. First of all, this is the only way you are going to get your realization. It's the premude, it's the germ within you, the germinating power within you, which is going to give you the ascent. And how can that be a thing that will be dangerous for you? There must be something wrong. For example, I don't understand about this instrument or about electricity, and put both the fingers in the plug, and I get a shock and I say, oh, it's the most dangerous thing that you can have. That means I don't know how to handle it. But Kundalini, when she is said to be troubling people, it is never the Kundalini, but this first center of innocence, which gets into annoyance. And when it gets into annoyance, it sends a lot of heat in the body, and that heat is felt in the body by so many people. When people who have no authority from God Almighty, we can say, those who are not holy people, those who are making money in the name of God, those who are people with very bad characters, who have no possibility of even taking the name of God, such people, when they try these tricks, it happens to you that you feel that tremendous heat in the body. One must know that heat is not a sign of spirituality. Everywhere, whether it is in Sanskrit or any language, they have said that it's a cooling thing. It cools you down. Even a person, we say, he's cool-minded, means he's not violent. Now in science, if you try to cool down the helium gas, you'll find that when it is not cooled down, it is heated up. All molecules fight each other. They become so violent that they hit each other. They form certain groups, hit each other, and then these groups also again hit each other. But when helium gas is cooled down, they all become collective and they start behaving in a manner that is very collective. So the idea is, people who say that with Kundalini you get tremendous heat, you start jumping, and some people told me that they start jumping like a frog. One gentleman sitting before me had put both his legs on the ground, he was sitting. So they said, you can't put these feet towards Mother. So I asked him, I called him, what's the problem, you see? Indians understand how to respect a saint. So I said, what's the problem? Why are you putting your legs towards me? He said, Mother, if I sit with folded feet, I start jumping like a frog. So I said, are you going to become a frog now? Just think about it. You are not going to become a frog or a bird. You are going to become a higher personality. Who has told you that you are becoming a frog? He said, my Kundalini is awakened by a guru, and he has given me this book, and in that book it was written. Actually, I saw with my own eyes, what a misleading thing, that he is a person who gets his Kundalini awakened, such starts jumping like a frog. Now, all these absurd things must be understood, that all abnormalities are dropped out after you become the spirit. Because that's the most beautiful thing you have within us. Spirit is the reflection of God Almighty. And when the Kundalini rises, and pierces through your fontanel bone area, where you actually get your baptism, that time you become a beautiful person, a decent person, sweet person, a nice person, and you forget all your violence. Not only that, but you feel the love for others and not violence. Your ego drops out. Your superego drops out. Means your conditioning drops out. If these transformations don't take place, what's the sense of becoming the spirit? So the ideas people have that you start jumping. I know of so many people now who have been to fake gurus. And this point I must bring to you because everywhere I went, the newspaper people asked me about the fake gurus. The other day, an American lady asked me in an interview of radio at Perth that how do you explain that the people who are seekers, the young people, they go to India and they end up penniless, and sometimes they get epilepsy, or they take to drugs, or they become jobless, useless, they live like cabbages, and they have nothing to contribute to the society or to themselves. How do we explain that? She says, I've got a data to show you. I said, agreed. I do feel ashamed that these gurus, who are not only fake, but they are criminals, they go into another country to make money. I agree. I accept. But also I would blame the people who go to them. They are naive, simple people. They are the ones who are earnestly seeking. But you must come to some logical conclusion about every guru. That is important. Because you are here to get to your spirit and not to get to a guru. That's one thing one must know, that we have to be the spirit and not be attached or be sort of enslaved by any guru whatsoever. The guru resides within you, in your heart, and your spirit is your guru. Only thing somebody has to trigger it just to become that. But the amount of enslavement and all these things people undergo for nothing at all. You cannot pay for. Anybody who takes money from you is a parasite, you must know. Whether he may call himself anything by any name, don't listen to such a person. Now, I've been telling all the people for the last 14 years. I was the one 14 years back in a very big hall, at least 5-6 times bigger than this, called as Jahangir Hall in Bombay. I spoke so loudly about all of them. I told their names. I told them what they were, how devilish they are. Keep out from them. But nobody would listen to me. Even when I went to America in the beginning, nobody would listen to me. I told them that be careful. These fake gurus are out. They are going to loot you. Be careful about them. But nobody would listen to me on this point. Because they were so enamored. On the contrary, they were teaching me some wisdom. Mother, you must take some money. Otherwise, Americans won't understand you. Unless and until they pay for it, they are not going to understand. I said, how do you underestimate them? They said, it's true. And I tell you, I ended up with some disciples there, or some people who got realization, but I was so frustrated. I asked one great saint of India to go down to New York about 2 years back, and he ran away. He ran away and said, I can't manage these Americans. Their whole thinking is just the other way around, about God, about everything. Now, there were people who were teaching that you can approach God through sex. I mean, absurd things. It's obtuse. Absolutely, it is opposite of what God is. Not that in Sahaja Yoga we disregard sex. Sex is a part of life, but sex does not play any part in the ascent. You can see, because the first center here, Muladhara, is for your excretion and for your sex. So we do not in any way condemn it, but it has its own sanctity and its own channelizing. If you become sort of perverted about it, you develop diseases. There are problems. And anything that is divine cannot give you a disease. So another conclusion they should have reached, I think, that if you are sick, your head is going reeling, if you are feeling unhappy, sickly, and you don't know what to do, then why should you stick on to that guru? Because just you have paid for it. It's like if you go to a drama and it's boring, you don't like it, but you said, no, we have paid for it, so go through it. That's all right, because drama doesn't make you mad, you see. But this kind of thing, which is so dangerous, even if you have paid, finish with it. Now, restart it. We have had enough of this man. Now they are buying Rolls Royces, they are buying aeroplanes. Look at where is their attention. They are more bothered about gathering money to themselves and having other people's money, as I call them, opium, and live on that and thrive on that. And why don't you use your brains to understand that how can you pay for your realization? It's one of your mistakes, I think, not to understand that anyone who is interested in your purse is not interested in your spirit. Then, apart from that, there are so many other mistakes people have committed in pursuit of God. One has to know that when you get your spirit, you get your own powers. I may say, as these people have said, that she is the greatest saint, all right? If they have said it, I say, all right. Because all the saints in India say so about me, so all right. I agree. But I need not say that. Even if I say I am the greatest, why should you believe in it? What have you got? What powers have you got out of it? What have you achieved out of it? Is the point. It should be absolutely clear-cut to you that unless and until you get your realization, you should not budge out. And you should not accept Sahaja Yoga is the ultimate. You must try to get your realization. You must get the mastery over it. Unless and until you have done it, what's the use of all Sahaja Yoga done? After all, it is to transform you into a new life. It's transform you what is your own. Is all your own property, I would say. Everything is like a trust. I sometimes say I'm like a banker. Now you put your money in the bank, and I'm just a banker who has to give your money. I'm a very gracious banker, so I may give double, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times. That's a different point. But you are seekers, so you are men of God, as described by another very great saint of England, William Blake. He says, he has described all these things to us very clearly, that at this time, men of God will be born. And they will become prophets. And they will have powers to make others prophet. He has said so clear. Everything is so clear-cut, you can't imagine. If you read him, you'll be amazed that he has even mentioned where the ashram for Sahaja Yoga will be, where I will be staying. Into all details he has mentioned. And you must have heard the story of Jerusalem, that England will become Jerusalem. I mean, if you have seen what they have been doing about 100 years back in India, nobody could have believed the stories that he said. But he could see that the same land, which is so aggressive today, will become the land of peace, harmony, and of spiritual ascent. Australia especially, I have tremendous respect for Australia as a land because it plays a very important role in Sahaja. This first center is the Muladhara, is Australia. Australia is the Muladhara of the whole universe. And I find every Australian, when I meet them, there's a kind of an innocence in him which is still showing up. Of course, innocence can never be destroyed. It can be covered, but it can never be destroyed. I've seen that in Australians, there is a kind of an innocence which shows very sweetly, and that's where it works out very fast. Now, Dr. Warren, he first came to me and his friend, and in the beginning, they were very volatile people, extremely angry, hot-tempered and all that, you see. And they came to me when I was on my way to Pune. So I said, all right, you come along with me, I haven't got time. But they came to my house and they touched their realization, but still they were so volatile and so angry. So I said, all right, you come along with me to Pune. And you see, in Sahaja Yoga, we don't take any money. Naturally, you see, we haven't got very good arrangements for you. If you want, you can stay in a hotel if you want, but as far as we are concerned, whatever Sahaja Yogis had arranged in those days, so we arranged for them to stay in a, what was that? Someplace. All right. And there was a doctor from England and these 2 persons, and there was only one mattress for 3 of them. You see, they were struggling, pushing each other from this to that. In the morning, you see, they got up and they got into the rickshaw, saying all their luggage there. I said, why? We slept on the cement, you see. I said, how? We slept on the cement thrice. They went on. I said, what's the matter? How did you sleep on the cement? They didn't give you any mattress? No, nothing. That fellow from England, he was snatching our mattress all the time and we could not sleep, but we slept on the cement. And in that I felt the sweetness of it. How sweetly they were telling me. their problems. It's such a simple problem to sleep on the cement. But sleeping on the cement helps a lot. They did not know at that time, which helps quite a lot, that the Mother Earth sucks your problems. So it was all arranged, perhaps, that they should be on the cement. But the way they were angry so sweetly, and everybody enjoyed that anger so much in Pune, and then they got their realization. And I know that something good has to happen. Once an Australian gets a realization, it will work out very fast. That's exactly what happened in their case, and should happen everywhere. I'm very happy. On my tour last time in Sydney, we did very well. And then we had also this time some program at Perth for the first time. Many people, about 300 people got realization, and it was wonderful. And the whole thing worked out in such a beautiful way that I'm so much encouraged to be here, to be with all of you, and to do this job, because this is the job I'm here for. For this, you don't have to do anything. First I have to work, and then you have to work for others. There are so many who are lost, so many who are seekers all over the world. It's not in Australia only, everywhere. They have taken to drugs out of seeking. They have taken to these gurus also out of their seeking. All these problems have come to these seekers. Even to, I've seen people who were quite of my age group. They told me they have been to some guru in America and who wanted to cut their tongues. All sorts of things they have been trying. You don't have to do anything like that. You have to be quite intact. But only things, that light within you, which is the spirit, has to shine into your attention. Tomorrow I'll tell you what is self-realization. Tomorrow I'll tell you exactly what is self-realization. And also I'll tell you about the chakras. In any case, they have given you the books, which are, of course, just the beginning of the whole thing is. You can see and read it and understand what are these chakras and what do they do. There's nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be worried. It's your own. It has to happen spontaneously. It happens absolutely without any trouble or torture to you. It may happen to all of you. It may happen to some of you, and whatever it is, we have come here for this purpose only, and I'll work out till my last breath to see that you get what you deserve. May God bless you. They want to tell that there is no program tomorrow, but we want to have a workshop, because in a workshop, just now we'll give you realization as well, but in a workshop, tomorrow I'll also see if there are people who have diseases and troubles and things like that, because Sahaja Yoga, first thing it does is to cure you of your troubles, of physical, mental and emotional side. Then your social problems it solves. It solves so many problems. I mean, it is the answer to all our problems of today. And if you really feel that seeking, it is because this problem has to be solved, that all human race has to be emancipated, that you have to save all of them, not only that, but enter into the kingdom of God, which is promised to you. So tomorrow we are going to have a workshop. What time? 10 o'clock? From 10 o'clock onwards. But we are in a place which is not so big. We have taken this on hire. Maybe we might go to a riverside if there are many people. If there are very few, then we can do it here. So after realization, those who want to come to workshop, please let us know who want to come to the workshop, and that's how. Then we'll arrange the place. All right. So now, is there any question? Because at the first meeting, we must answer questions. It's very important. Please ask me questions, but don't ask about these gurus, you see, because it's a controversial thing. Just forget it. Whatever has happened has happened. Don't ask about them. What do you think about this guru? Because I don't want to say all these things. But you yourself should be able to judge it. If you have not yet judged it, better judge it. But you say, I'm not going to talk to you about these things. If they have not given you realization, better forget it. They should have given you realization. If they have not given realization, then they are good for nothing. Just forget it. So please ask me questions which are more of constructive thing. Because you are seekers, I am here to give you a realization. That's all. That's the only relationship we have of a mother who wants that the children should be reborn again. Nothing more or nothing less. So one should not exceed in this. and try to ask me questions which are irrelevant for nothing at all. So may God bless you all.
Any questions?
Tomorrow, where we are supposed to see Mataji?
We'll make that announcement when we find out how many people would like to come, because we have a small place.
Why not ask now how many would like to come?
Okay, let's
raise the hands.
You'll be able to meet Mother if you've got any particular problem, explanation.
Even otherwise for realization or anything. Those who want to come, let's know.
Those who'd like to come tomorrow, during the day, it'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning.
So we can do it on the riverside. It's better with so many people.
Okay. Could you tell me the description of the place, please? It's called Pinky's Flat, is it?
Yes,
Pinky Flat opposite the festival hall, is it? On the opposite side of the river, at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. If it's not suitable there, it's too crowded, we might just go from there to another place. But at least we'll be sitting on the earth. If you wish, bring yourself some lunch and we can make it extend beyond midday. It's been a most...
share the lunch. It would be nice meeting together.
Near the festival theatre?
Opposite, on the other side of the river.
I mean, river is a big thing.
But they know.
They know, all right.
So tomorrow morning, let's fix it at that. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. at Pinky's Flat opposite the festival hall, and if that site's not quite suitable, we'll walk to another one.
You see, the thing is, we have not yet got a centre in Adelaide. We have got one in Perth, we have got one in Melbourne, and we have got one in Sydney. Quite a big centre in Sydney. But we haven't got any centre whatsoever in Perth. So, some people have come from all these various places and taken a little place on higher. And that's how we have started the program. But now, if you people get realization, you can start a center. It's very simple, don't have to pay for anything. It's a very simple way of doing it. You must master Sahaja Yoga. We'll get some people from there who will come down and settle down here to help you out. So nobody has to pay anything for it. Nothing of the kind. It's just that you should get together and understand it and master it.
Before Mother gives the experience of self-realization, let's have some questions, because if there's any mental activity, you see, the Kundalini cannot pass through the two sides of the brain.
Yes.
I'd like to ask Mother a question. Is schizophrenia an evolutionary process?
Is schizophrenia...
No. I had no chance. You see, that I will tell you tomorrow. What happens, how you get these diseases, all right? It's not at all evolutionary. You become the sanest personality. No. But how it comes, how it works out and why it enters into our being, that I'll tell you tomorrow. Everything. All right? Tomorrow lecture, I'll cover it up with why we get schizophrenic, why do we get cancer, why do we get other diseases which are not curable, all psychosomatic problems, everything I will explain to you tomorrow on these chakras and on the centers. It's not at all evolutionary at all. Absolutely not. On the contrary, it is against. That's what it is. You see, one of the gurus had a lecture, and one of our Sahaja Yogi had gone to that lecture. He is a doctor. And he was amazed that the fellow was talking that when you see a person doing that particular type of a mantra and you see the brain, then what you find in the brain is a theta wave. And our theta waves are only found in a person who is epileptic. So he got up, he said, "Oh God, that place you become epileptic, is that so?" So they said, no, it's not epilepsy, it's another type of theta wave. I mean, if you have to diagnose, you see, I have also done medicine. These gurus have no knowledge of any kind. They have no science knowledge, nothing. You see what they do? They take some scientist, all right, you come to our group and speak to them. And now they become identified with them and take all the credit with them. And ego-oriented people, you see. You tell somebody, oh, you are a great scientist, to come and speak to our people. They say, this is what we are teaching. Imagine, this one was shocked and he said, how is it theta wave? Because when you have to find out about a patient whether he is suffering from any trouble, if you find theta wave, that means a person is epileptic. So how the diagnosis is? So, you see, they started saying it's another kind of thing, or we'll meet you again. And then they contacted the doctor, they said, why don't you come and see us, have lunch with us? They offered him money, this and that. Can you imagine? But how people have closed their eyes. The other day, one doctor came to see me in Perth. He's a very good man, and he's an Indian doctor. And he told me that most surprising is that some of the doctors have given up their jobs and they have become like cabbages. They can't also see a garlic. This is their situation, and all blame should come to India and Indian government. I said, but what can Indian government do about it? Then nobody can do it. There are people who are really penniless, you can't do anything about it. There was a lady, a granddaughter of a duke. See, she went to an organization like that. Actually, they were running he was a director of a flying academy in Scotland, and they had huge properties and everything, and they became absolutely penniless because the students who came ate in their place. They never had any contact financially with them, and the whole money was taken away, and they became absolutely penniless. This woman got epilepsy, her daughter got epilepsy, the husband got epilepsy, and then they came to me. I had to put them in my own house, because where to keep them? Such people, you can't keep them with other saints or yogis. They got cured, they are alright, but the husband, because he became bankrupt, he had to go back to South Africa. And the wife and the child both of them are there, but they have lost everything. Now through Sahaja Yoga, they are working out something, and we'll try to help her to resettle her life. She had such a lot of money, she was the granddaughter of a duke. But I asked her, how did you go about it? You see, you were getting epilepsy, she used to scream for 3 hours. I haven't seen this kind of a case that she was. And she used to get her neck back like that, and she used to scream for 3 hours. And when they told this gentleman, their guru, that, you see, this was happening to me, he said that, you see, you go and say some psychiatrist. They take no responsibility. No responsibility at all. So how can you even, I asked her, how is it? She's a very well-educated lady. I said, how is it with all your education and everything, you jump to this kind of a nonsense? And she said, you see, it was like walking under the blanket. We did not know. They said, you pay 300 pounds, we'll give you this mantra. We paid 300 pounds. And the mantra they gave, any Indian who is here will know, was Tinga. Imagine, that means showing like this is Tinga. And they were told, this is a secret, Inga, Binga, all sorts of names they gave, and this is a secret you are not to tell anyone. And this guru used to actually giggle at them. All the time used to giggle at the stupidity of these people. This minted money, there's an article that he's got 60,000 crores of rupees. Crores means...
35
million.
Million.
$35 million in Indian money. Indian. We don't know how much he has got with the bank in Switzerland. Like, this is only one. Another one who was giving realization with a peacock feather or something like that. He died in America. He has got, you will be amazed now. If you go and inquire, you will be amazed that 60,000 crores of diamonds he has got. 60,000 crores of diamonds he left, and both the disciples are now fighting. Then another one has bought now 36 Rolls Royce and 3 aeroplanes. Just imagine. The another one has 58, and he told the disciples in England that if you give me the 59th, I'll come down. And these simple people, already suffering so much, they are having so much trouble. Some of them are gone mad. You see, they starved themselves, ate only potatoes and all that in one whole year, and then they called this fellow and gave him that Rolls Royce. That's why he came to give them a darshan. Can you imagine? You are responsible. I would say, in a way, to be that much to believe anyone like that. You have got nothing. Nothing you have got. It's a very sad thing, I know. but you'll find everything. You have to find. They can't surpass you. They cannot win over you. They cannot be victorious. They do not know the powers of God. But give them up completely. We have to find it. We'll find it out. No doubt. There are so many people now coming back and understanding it.